All right. Here's a chance for me to talk about something a little different. Something that, quite frankly, I know quite a bit more about than the average bear. You'll never guess what it is, though. Pencil sharpeners. Not many people know this, but believe it or not, in my real job, I'm a school teacher. And as such, I have, in the course of my, good God, 16-year career, put a fair few of these through the ringer. Get it? Ringer. In fact, this one is from my very classroom. This one right here is an Elmer's X-ACTO KS, removed by yours truly from his very wall earlier this week. On the whole, the X-ACTO KSs have been underwhelming. This one here, before it started to make some great noises. Ooh, there's the noises right there. This one, it didn't even make it like 3 months, and it had already started to come apart. So this one, the actual canister is held on just by a simple twist. Stamped steel. Now this part here is what you set your pencil size with. For us in the high school, we almost never ever touch them. We don't have the big fat monstrous pencils. We never have problems with these. Whereas, can you guess which one came out of the elementary? What you see, you're going to be able to see it down inside there? Yeah, sort of. You can actually see that it's got a rivet that's been peened over that holds down the size wheel, and it clamps this little spring-loaded lever, which allows you to lock them into place. I have never seen one of those fail on the KSs in any of the high school classrooms. But that doesn't mean they're good. Here is the guts of the beastie. You stick your pencil in. You've got a big sort of, what do they call that, ring gear? Planetary gear. Now I guess these little ones are the planetaries, and there's the main gear. But as it goes around, it forces these to counter-rotate, and these sharp edges bite into your pencils. You see the fact that I can do this? You're now figuring out what went wrong. This has got this great big gear set, and had this thing been milled back just a little farther, it would never have died. But it wasn't. It had just the corners of these teeth hitting just the corners of these teeth. And this is made out of the finest cast washing machines and Chinesium the world had to offer. But that really didn't matter that much. To be quite honest, it's a fitment issue. The only one that I know that's still functioning is actually in my sister classroom, ironically the English classroom, and it does still go, but it is also very loudly making the grumbly noises. And those noises were these teeth skipping in the housing. Can you see that? Not very good. Now, the Ranger 55s, we didn't normally see these in the high school. I suspect it's because they're probably quite a bit more money. I don't really know why, whether it's because it's the high school, ours last longer because they're not getting used as much, because there's not so much, early childhood writing skill development. But they have this swinging basket repository. Ironically, it's made by the same company. It's another X-ACTO Elmer's product. Now, these have got the same sort of planetary ring gear set, but you'll notice that they have just a little bit more meat. A few millimeters per se, but it's enough. Up in there. No idea the history of this one. It's a little loose on its base, which is a simple enough fix. And don't kid yourself. The custodians fix these things all the time. They save old ones, pull pieces off of them, keep it going as long as possible. What's happening to these, and I ended up getting 2 of them out of the trash. One of them I've already fixed and put in my own classroom, and this one here, Shay has laid claim to it because he's a pencil sharpening machine. I suspect that part of the longevity of these as well is that, it picks up on both sides. So you got bearing support on both sides, and I think that's a big part of why they survive as well. These are just a more expensive unit. But what ends up happening is because the little kids are constantly reefing on these, and they don't always know that you got to push the little lever down, they will begin to pull out these rivets. You see that rivet in there? So it's just peened over, again, Chinesium, and so now it's got a bunch of slop, and that rivet can move forward and backwards. Oh gosh, this one's better than a 1/16 of an inch. Once that begins to happen, this loses its strength. It begins to jump around, and that's important because unless this is held firmly, then the pencil sharpeners start to kick to the side. And when they kick to the side, they do that super irritating thing where they sharpen one side of your pencil and not the other, so the wood comes all the way down to the tip, and there ain't nothing you can do about it, and you kind of have to float it around. So I actually picked the better of the 2, and I put it back into my classroom after repairing this, and then I saved this one here for Shay to use. Pretty straightforward fix if you ever find yourself with one of these in your own classroom or your own home. You don't even need special tools or special parts. You can get a center punch and put a new peen on that, but I found it really doesn't need it. Take your finger and push as far back. You need some nice, serious pressure to hold it back up. The one in my classroom, I actually fixed with super glue because that's what was in the fridge in the science lab, was just some Zap-A-Gap and pencil shavings, ironically. So we might as well just do it that way. More likely to have probably some sort of super glue, either in the medicine cabinets or, like I said, in the science lab in your school anyways. Get it on this, okay? Then you take some of your pencil shavings. I don't have any handy right now. We'll simulate with table saw shavings. And you just work those in. You're going to get your finger with stuff stuck to it. It's okay. Suck it up, big boy. You'll pull through this. Oh, come on. It's like blowing away the Sahara. All I need to do is get something behind this lip on this pin right here so that it can't slide forward. It isn't going to be under a lot of stress. It isn't going to be under a lot of tension. You just don't want it sliding forward. So what the epoxy or the super glue with the sawdust does is it basically is forming a fiber washer behind this pin. And when it can't move forward, this remains locked in place and properly indexing. So if you don't like my super glue and pencil shaving idea, which by the way has worked for some time now in my own classroom, here's how you do it for real. You get yourself just a small nut, fits on top of that pin. Put it down. Go grab a carriage bolt out of one of the desks. Hopefully one of a kid you don't like that much. And you put it in here backwards. Give it a tappity tap tap tap. You can actually mushroom that back over. Tighten this thing up. And leave it working once again. The cat is not even... It's not even turning it. It's not even touching. I'm just telling you, if you're a classroom teacher and your budget is tight and your pencil sharpener is making horrible noises and the kids have turned this into an airplane propeller, you can fix it with crap in the break room, or at least the science lab. Little super glue, like puddle it in there. I know it won't dry like that, but that's where the shavings come from. And you just work them underneath. might take 2 layers of super glue. It might take a little more shavings. Feel free to poke at it, ironically, with a pencil. Just get it down in there. And when you do that, this will lock itself back into place. And when that's done, the unit will be functional again. Oh, come on. Ah. Magic. So there you go. That ought to help. If you're in purchasing and making these decisions, spend the extra money for the Ranger, even in your high schools. The KS just, it hoopa-jooped itself, and it did it in my classroom. And granted, I'm a history classroom, right? So there's a fair bit of writing, but still, it did it in my classroom in less than 6 months, and it was trashed. That is in that condition because I then went out and got an electric pencil sharpener and just used that instead, and so the kids would go and grind on this thing, and then I'd say, oh yeah, use the electric pencil sharpener, and then go, oh, I forgot. And then they'd use the electric pencil sharpener. So this thing has basically, it's been like a hood ornament on my classroom wall, and they continue to use it. So it's way past its expiration date. Normally, if it was the only sharpener in the room, I would have had to pull it a year ago. But it just, I don't know, it just hung out there for some reason. Now, I've got a repaired Ranger 55 on there, and I expect it to go, at least for the rest of this year. To be totally honest, as long as that holds, it'll go till it gets dull. And it's been a long time since I had a pencil sharpener that worked until it got dull. Oh yeah. You know why I took the effort of getting this hood ornament off my wall and putting a repaired one of those back up again? It's because I remember that electric pencil sharpener I got? That very nice, fast, quiet electric pencil sharpener I got? Had a little high school boy decide, you know, it would totally get the girls all hot and bothered if I sharpened a pen and showed it to them. Yeah, Romeo. God help him.
I fell far, oh boy, yeah, I fell hard. I skydived for relief into your arms, and you let me down hard, oh, you let me down hard.